This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog with another off-season weekly baseball observation of all the off-season moves for the hot stove. The Astros, they re-signed Martin Maldonado. They should have done that last year, so he'd have to go through that circus of playing in Kansas City, playing for the Cubs, then ultimately being traded back to them. They needed a starting catcher even if he couldn't hit because their lineup is stacked. When you have Springer, Brantley, Josh Reddick, Bregman, Correa, Altuve, Yuri Gurriel, and Yordan Alvarez, and you still have the Tucker brother. You got enough offense on that team that you do not need great offensive catcher. Ian Kinsler, speaking of good offensive player, but also being a two-way player, had a down year in San Diego when he signed that multi-year deal, and he got hurt. He also even pitched his first time ever. Well, he announced his retirement, and he is going to work for the Padres. Kinsler, just under 2,000 hits for his career, but he had missed some time in the last couple years with some injury. But when he was on Texas and even on Detroit, boy, he was a great player. Yes, he's been in decline, but players decline. Nobody's really taking steroids anymore. And unless you're the greatest of the greatest, you're not playing until, your late 30s or 40s and putting up consistent numbers. So I wish him well in his retirement. One of the greatest Jewish baseball players ever. Definitely one of the greatest Rangers players ever. Definitely the greatest second baseman probably in the Rangers history. Now the Cubs, they don't have a lot of money. Signing guys to minor league deal, they're not really doing anything. So they signed Ryan Tepera to a major league deal. When Ken Giles was hurt and missed time, he was okay, and he's been okay as a closer, but he's mostly going to be the 7th or 8th inning guy because Craig Kimbrell, they paid the money for him to be the closer. And with Stroop and Brandon Kinsler and Chiswick all gone, the Cubs need some veteran guy to pitch the 8th inning. So it's a good move by them. Not going to cost him a lot of money because he had a down year, but he used to be good. Then the Tigers, who were not trying last year whatsoever, they did try with Jody Mercer and Josh Harrison. Josh Harrison got hurt and missed too much time, so they were like, yeah, he's done. Let's cut him. Jody Mercer missed time due to injury and eventually played some games at second, third, and first end of the year, despite him still being a quality enough shortstop at this point in his career. So they're like, that was a disaster for the middle infield, and because Cabrera could only DH, and they moved Candelario moved all over the place, and they traded Castellanos. They didn't really have, and Jacoby Jones got hurt, they didn't really have major leaguers. So at least by signing Scope and Crone, you can pencil each of them for 20, because Scope's always going to hit at least 20-something. That was even before everybody did. He was doing it when he was younger in Baltimore and when he got traded to Milwaukee. Crone, on the other hand, has the ability to be a 40 home run hitter and hit more than 20, hit 30s at least, minimum 30 to home runs to 35. But he didn't really do that for the Twins, missing time of injury. The Twins were like, we don't want to pay for this guy to do this when we can go out and get somebody else to do this or move the puzzle pieces we have to make our team better. The Twins didn't need him. The Twins didn't need Scope either because they have a second baseman they want to use. The Tigers at least can say they're trying and they're not tanking by signing two major leaguers who can each hit 20 home runs in their sleep. Defensively, Scope and Crone aren't the greatest, but if the Tigers are smart, they'll trade them at the deadline as well, get some more prospects for the rebuild. So at least they have a major league right side of the infield, so we can't fault them there. The Marlins signed Cervelli because they needed a veteran backup for Jorge Alfaro, and also used to be buddies with Derek Jeter when they were in New York. So they signed him because they need somebody to back up Alfaro because they don't have Brian Holiday. And the Indians, due to this is not being healthy the past couple seasons and also moving him to the outfield and center field, which is weird, and them trading Yanni Diaz, Eric Gonzalez, and multiple infielders away the past couple of years, they have nobody really to play second base. So signing a guy like Cesar Hernandez, who has batted leadoff, second, and eighth for the Phillies, who's consistently good enough offensively to put him in the lineup because he's a good defensive player and he's right and his average on base percentage is good. They just plug him into the lineup right now because they have a good enough offensive lineup. But they're not really going to go anywhere this year. They had a hole and they didn't know what to do with it. Now, speaking of utility players, Tyler Saladino, he is signed to go play in career after spending the past couple seasons shuffling back and forth between AAA and the major leagues for the Brewers, and Matt Moore going from okay starter to okay reliever to being injured and missing most of the time this year. When he did pitch, he had season-ending surgery. He's gone to Japan. Now, the Mets, after Familia and Diaz had bad years, there's hope for rebound, and then they still have Justin Wilson. They signed Dylan Betances, who, when healthy, his career has pitched like a closer and an all-star setup man, but was hurt. The Mets need somebody else. So getting him, and if Familia and Diaz and Wilson are there, they got some good bullpen. The Mets need relief help because they already fixed the pitching staff. They have 6 starters now, and they got themselves Marisnik in center field. So they got the reliever they needed. Now, the Diamondbacks, with Souza Jr. missing time the past 2 years and Adam Jones going over to Japan and they cut Souza, they needed a right fielder. So signing Cole Calhoun to play right field for a couple of years, not a bad idea. He's not a middle of the order guy or leadoff guy, but you just plug him in your lineup towards the bottom. He plays good defense. He's consistent. Good idea for the Diamondbacks. When you don't have a right fielder as it stands, they're not even sure who's in center field. That's another issue. But that was a good move for them. They got themselves a top of the rotation pitcher. They got themselves a good offensive catcher, and they got now Cole Calhoun in right field. Now, the major things were the Blue Jays went out and got Shaw and Ryu. Ryu, 4 years, $80 million. The Blue Jays aren't going anywhere, and I thought he wants to go to L.A. or even a bigger city, but he's going up to Canada. Now, Ryu has battled injuries in his career. He missed 1 full season in his career, but what the Blue Jays need is a guy to go out there every day and lead the staff, because they do have some young pitchers that are up and coming that they had to use in the second half because they got rid of everybody or everybody got hurt. So basically, the veterans the Blue Jays had this past season either got hurt and were out for the whole year, or they traded guys like Stroman and Aaron Sanchez, and they had nobody in the rotation left. So they were using nobodies. Now, if you have a rotation of Ryu, Tanner Roark, Chase Anderson, and maybe even Anthony Bass who they got, or some younger guys, then that's not a bad rotation, because having Roark, Chase Anderson, if he's healthy, and Ryu eats innings, and the Blue Jays don't want to keep losing 100 games every year because they have no pitching staff for the young guys on their team. So it's a good idea to get Ryu, even to cost them much money, because they need to start showing that they care about winning. Now, signing Travis Shaw, it's a good move if you're a team that doesn't have a good third baseman or first baseman. Problem for the Blue Jays is they have Guerrero, Bichette, Biggio, Rowdy Tellez, Brandon Drury, Yuri Gurriel's younger brother Lourdes, and they have Richard Arena. They got all these infielders, and they got all these outfielders as well. There's like 5 or 6 outfielders on their 4-man roster not named Randall Grichuk. There's no room for Shaw in this thing. That's why it's basically he's just taking Justin Smoke's position of, I could DH and I could play first base, but at least Shaw could play some games at third base if you give Guerrero the day off. What we're going to do is give the Blue Jays another puzzle piece, and the whole musical chairs of who's going to play every single position, because they have so many position players. That losing Justin Smoke I didn't think was a bad thing, because they didn't need him necessarily, because they're not going anywhere and they have too many guys. Now by getting Shaw, they also have too many guys, so that just made no sense. On the White Sox, after signing Gio Gonzalez, so we have a 4th or 5th starter. So if Cesar Lopez have bad years and Kopech is healthy, you can just dump one of those guys into the bullpen or demote them because you have Gio Gonzalez. Now they went and signed Dallas Keuchel, which I'm glad the Sox did, because he never threw 100, so he's not going to have a massive decline. He's consistent. When healthy, he can pitch 200 innings, win a certain amount of games, have a certain ERA, start 30 games. He's a clubhouse leader. The young pitchers in Houston liked him. He'll be like a Mark Burley on the White Sox, or when they got Freddie Garcia or other guys. They just need somebody to go out there and pitch, because Lucas Giolito can be an ace, but he needs some support from a veteran guy like Keuchel to show him the way. It'll also help Kopech, it'll help Cease, and it'll help Lopez by having both Gio Gonzalez and Keuchel. 3 years, $55 million is not that much. It also helps because the Twins, the Angels, and other teams wanted them, and we took them away. So I'm glad the White Sox now can pencil in Giolito, Keuchel, Kopech, Cease, and Gonzalez. I'm not talking about Lopez right now. Lopez is only in the rotation until Kopech is 100%. Now, the other thing the White Sox did after getting Mazzara, so they actually have a competent right fielder who can actually field this position, and they're going to have Robert and Magical come up, so they have center field and second base taken care of, is they signed Edwin Encarnacion. Now, what that does is, that means you get a guy in his sleep can hit 30 home runs and drive at 100, and occasionally could play first base. Now, the original plan was Grandal was probably going to catch 3 to 4 days a week, and McCann would catch the other days. And some days Grandal would play first base, and then 2 to 3 times a week he would DH because they want his left-handed bat. Now, by getting Edwin Encarnacion, that makes McCann a full-time backup, because if you want to play McCann, that means you have to either sit Abreu at first base to play Edwin at first base, or you got to sit Grandal, and they're not going to do that, and they're not going to sit Edwin either. So it looks like McCann's going to be a backup piece, but a White Sox lineup that has Makata, Abreu, Edwin Encarnacion, and Eloy Jimenez and Grandal before you even get to Robert and Magical's potential. And if you have, the question is who's going to lead off from now until Robert comes up, Luis Garcia should play center field and lead off, and Tim Anderson should bat second. You go Moncada third. That'll bring you cleanup because he drives in 100. They didn't go with either Encarnacion, Gerdau, or Eloy. It's up to you what you want to do. And if Mazzara is batting 8th in this lineup, that's not bad for everybody insulting him, because when healthy, he hits 20 and 70 at least. If he's batting 8th in the lineup, I think he had more potential to drive in more runs and have a better day and a better season, because they're not going to put all the pressure on him. Like in Texas, he is batting the leadoff for them, or second, or even third, fourth. If he's asking to bat 8th, it's going to be a good move. So the White Sox continue to improve their team. The thing that we're looking for is them to get a reliever. But so far, the White Sox did really well this week. Astros did what they needed to do, was get a catcher. The Cubs got a set of man, which they need. The Blue Jays got themselves a front-of-line pitcher in Ryu to go with the other two guys they got the inning. The Marlins got a veteran catcher. The Indians fixed the hole at second base by having a steady presence who stays healthy. The Diamondbacks fixed a hole in right field they've had for a couple of years now. And the Mets signed one of the relievers they need to sign, because they need to sign more than one. But that was another edition of a weekly baseball observations for a hot stove offseason for baseball. For Radar and the Honor Entertainment blog, see you next week.